Welcome back to SCTV. I'm Maddie Hayes.
And I'm Kennedy Moore.
We only have 2 weeks left in the semester. Crazy.
I know. Our first story focuses on Simpson's Got Talent that Cab hosted.
Let's take a look.
My love doesn't come from dollar signs.
I wrote a song called Dollar Sign for my grandma. I based it off the story about how she met my grandpa. They got married when my grandma was 18 and stuff, so they didn't always have a lot of money, but they had each other, so they thought they were rich in that way. So I wrote that song called Dollar Sign.
I thought this was great overall. I was a little worried this morning, but everything just came together. I mean, it's one thing to come in and play, bingo. It's one thing to come in and watch a comedian, but when your peers are up on stage or your colleagues are up on stage, or even if it's just, hey, that's my faculty member, or that's the security guy that I know, it makes a difference. And I think that it shows, all the awesome things that our students are doing and our staff and faculty are doing, but at the same time, it builds some of this, I'm much more excited to come to this event than I am to other things because I know the people. Reggie tonight, it was so awesome when I saw Reggie signed up and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna solve this Rubik's Cube really fast. I'm like, that's cool. I don't have that talent, but Reggie killed it, and made it even more amazing than I thought it could ever be. And I hope that we continue to find things like that.
Maddie, do you have any talents?
Played guitar for 8 years and I don't. My name was not on that list.
Because you display all of your talents for us here.
Something like that. Do you have any talents?
No, not really. I mean, I'm kind of good at hangman, but that's about it.
You've got a big vocabulary.
Yeah, I'm also pretty good at the Wordle, I would say, but I don't think I could really display those at Simpson's Got Talent. So,
our next story is actually looking at Wordle first words.
Hello, my name is Clare Hughes, and I'm with SCTV, and today we're going to be walking around Simpson asking students what their go-to first word on Wordle is. Who am I here with?
Jack Campbell.
What is your go-to first word on Wordle?
Irate.
Who am I here with?
Jacob Stewart.
What is your go-to first word on Wordle?
Slate.
Who am I here with?
Kaylin Talley.
Kaylee Bristow.
What is your go-to first word on Wordle? Bread.
And Jewel.
Who am I here with?
McKenna Morgan.
What is your go-to first word on Wordle?
Adieu.
Who am I here with?
Avon Leg.
What is your go-to first word on Wordle?
Audio.
Awesome sauce. Who am I here with?
Connor Slack.
What is your go-to first word on Wordle?
Beach.
Who am I here with?
Jay.
What is your go-to first word on Wordle?
Storm.
Beautiful. Who am I here with?
Kiddick.
What is your go-to first word on Wordle?
House.
Awesome. Who am I here with?
Brady Connor.
What is your go-to first word on Wordle?
Train.
Okay. Interesting. Who am I here with?
Skylar.
What is your go-to first word on Wordle?
Adieu.
There you go. Who am I here with?
Michaela Fowler.
What is your go-to first word on Wordle?
Stare.
With SCTV, I'm Clare Hughes.
I might be switching my first word Wordle.
I'm not. I'm sticking with bread till the day I die.
At least you have confidence. Our next story is another event that happened on campus, the Authors Fair.
Let's take a look at some books to add to the reading list.
On Saturday the 5th, Simpson College had our local Authors Fair, where many different authors, all from around Indianola, came and presented their books to students.
That we're talking about today is Let's Chat, Conversations with Mothers and Daughters. It's designed to be a 30-day conversation between mothers and daughters to help facilitate conversations about who we are and how we grow. One of the conversations is things like, but I don't always like the way I look. And facilitating conversations between mothers and daughters to deepen trust, to deepen understanding, to deepen relationships, and to deepen a faith with a faith in God.
I wrote this sweet little book on dementia called My Silly Granny. It is based on experiences I had with my mom a few years ago when she had dementia.
Just keep doing it. Don't worry about whether it feels good or not. Don't worry about whether the quality of the work. Just keep doing it. Persistence is the name of the game.
The local authors fair helps inspire many different Simpson College students to start writing. This is Maddie Waddingham with SCTV signing off.
It looked like a fun time getting to know some local authors.
For sure. You know what's next?
Would you rather?
Would you rather? My last ever would you rather.
Aw, sad.
Cue it. Let me just wipe away a few tears. Would you rather, Kennedy, hide Easter eggs or be the one to find Easter eggs?
I think I'd rather be the one to find the Easter eggs, because then you get what's inside of them.
That's a good point. I think I like both. I just like Easter.
Yeah, I get that. I like to hide the eggs as well, but Easter's just a fun holiday.
It is. Now, on to sports.
The Simpsons men's tennis team faced off against Luther College on April 11th in West Des Moines, Iowa at Crossroads Park. Luther comes into the face-off with an overall record of 13-5 and an ARC record of 4-0. Simpson comes into this face-off with a record of 1-11 and an ARC record of 0-3. To start off the face-off, they started in a doubles competition where Simpson did not perform the greatest and ended up losing all three of their matches, with the closest match coming from Javier Robles Solis and Grant Love with a score of 6-4 Luther. After the doubles matches ended, the team went in to play single matches, where it did not go well for the Storm also. The Storm would go on to lose 5 out of their 6 singles matches, with their only win coming from Javier Robles Solis, winning it in overtime. The first round for Javier was a breeze, winning it 6-3, but the second round he ended up falling short, losing it 1-6, but then pulled everything back together, winning it 1-0 in overtime. The rest of the singles matches ended up looking very similar for the Storm, with many of them losing 6-0. The next best singles match was from Derek Kaser, with Luther winning 6-2. For SCTV, I'm Jack Perkins.
This week in Storm Sports, the Storm baseball team took a series at Loris up in Dubuque. They won the first game 14-7 before falling on Saturday 20-9 in the first game of the doubleheader, but came back and won 22-15 in Game 3. They also fell to Nebraska Wesleyan 1-0 in 11 innings here at Bob McBride Field. The Storm softball team went 6-0 this week, sweeping BV, Central, and Loris with some fantastic pitching, as well as hitting by Megan Heidelbauer as she leads the country in RBI. The track and field team was split up last weekend as some runners and throwers went to Jim Duncan Invite, some distance runners headed to the Platteville Invite, and some more throwers and multi-athletes headed to the Dick Young Invite in Grinnell. The men's golf team took the win here on Wednesday as they won the Storm Spring Invite, with Brad Kofed taking the individual victory. The women's golf team finished third at the Storm Spring Invite and the Iowa Central Invite last weekend, and the Storm men's tennis team fell to Luther, Wartburg, and Nebraska Wesleyan, all by a score of 6-1. That's all for this week in Storm Sports with SCTV. I'm Rob Howes.
Thank you so much for joining us on this week's SCTV.
Have an excellent Easter.
I'm leaving it in Kennedy's and Rob's hands from here on out. Deuces.
We're losing one good egg.